Hey everyone, welcome back to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's Thursday, May 19th. We're going to skip the two-game early slate. There's not a lot of action on Fantasy Draft, FanDuel, DraftKings, nothing really going on in the industry for the two-game slate. So it's going to kind of breeze by that. We got a special guest here, so we're going to talk to him here in a minute, but we'll talk about our sponsor over at FantasyDraft.com first. If you guys haven't visited FantasyDraft.com, make sure you guys check them out. They got a lot of action here for this Thursday slate. They got a $7,500 home run, a lot of cash games, a lot of good stuff. $1 tournaments to $22 tournaments, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of promos, a lot of stuff going on with Fantasy Draft. So if you haven't checked them out, make sure you guys use the promo code GRINDERS. That way when you sign up, you get incentives for a year for free over at Roto Grinders, $180 value for free just by signing up and using our promo code. So if you like the podcast, support us, support Fantasy Draft, and that way we can continue to do this every day. But like I mentioned at the beginning, got a special guest here on the podcast today. We got NASCAR driver Ty Dillon. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good, man. Glad to be back on the show and talking some more DFS baseball.
Yeah, man. I'm really pumped. We were talking a little earlier, and I'm really pumped that we get to talk about a pitcher here in a few minutes that I know you're really excited about, for your Braves. And just to, I've come to the conclusion where I'm not picking on the Braves when I'm talking to you, because every time I talk to you and I pick on the Braves, like Laureano, it just never works out for me.
Yeah, man. I watch enough bad Braves baseball to at least know when they're going to be mediocre, I guess. And they got away with a mediocre game tonight with Teheran pitching really well and, put up 2 runs against Laureano tonight. And, I'm excited about the pitching that they have coming up that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Yeah,
Teheran. Oh, man. That guy, I know that a lot of people in the industry had left-handed bats against him on the slate. So it was one of those messed up slates on Wednesday night. So I'm excited to get on to Thursday. But before we get on to the slate here for Thursday, I love having you on the podcast, and there's not specific reasons, but we do have a cool promo coming up at Charlotte, the 600 weekend. I'll be in Charlotte. One of our friends will be there with us, Tommy G. But we're going to do this thing that is just a little different, Ty. And I know probably being a NASCAR guy, you get the same kind of stuff. Hey, is the car running good? Is the car going to be good this weekend? So I'm sure you're pumped about this promo. But what we're going to do is tomorrow, Thursday morning, so if you're listening to this on Thursday morning, the post should be up. We're going to have a promo here on rotogrinders.com to submit questions to ask Ty at an interview with us here at Roto Grinders, live from Charlotte, probably Friday or Saturday. We're still kind of working that out, so it's to be determined along those lines. But, these types of questions can be anything fun, anything you want to ask Ty. If you ever had a question that you wanted to ask Ty, this is the chance. Like one of my favorite questions when we were kind of bouncing this idea was, this is the type of question that we kind of want. Busch Brothers versus Dillon Brothers, 2-on-2 hoops. Who wins and why, Ty?
That's an easy one. I think Austin and I are probably the 2 most athletic guys in our sport. We played all the different up, and those guys lack any kind of athleticism from what I can tell. So that would be an easy one, I feel like. But those are great questions. I look forward to answering those kind of questions, let people get to know me a little bit better outside of just the race car driver that I am. And if you have good racing questions too, I'm open to answer those. So we're going to have a little fun with it.
Yeah, man. And, between you, me, and, your PR people, we're going to select 10 questions out of the questions that are submitted. We're going to use the like buttons here on Roto Grinders. If people are getting a lot of likes, we're going to, take that into consideration. And the 10 questions that we select, we're going to give everybody a Roto Grinders t-shirt on top of being able to ask Ty a question. So I'm excited for that promo. I'm excited to, hang out with you in Charlotte again. It's always good to see you. I'm expecting you to bring home a win here.
Yeah, man, I am too. We've been running really good lately, and might be the perfect storm, if we could say that, because I'm sure it'll be some kind of storm if we do win. We'll have a great party with everybody that's going to be there. So I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be an awesome weekend.
All right, man. So let's get into this baseball slate. I love having you on and talking baseball. We talk all the time, and you really, get the DFS and you really get baseball. So I love hearing your thoughts on games. So we're going to start it off with your Braves here at Pittsburgh. We got Jeff Luck and Mike I call him Fulte. Do you actually know how to pronounce this guy's last name?
I think it's Fultonevich.
All right, I'll give you that. And I know you're dying to talk about him, so I'll let you run with it here.
Yeah, definitely. So he's a guy that I think last year and his first start back this year. Last year, he would get you, 5 to 7 Ks, but he would allow a home run to probably 3 or 4 home runs almost automatically every start. He's got a really plus fastball. He can throw it 97, 98 miles an hour. He's got some good off speed stuff. And I think it's one of those things where you bring up a rookie pitcher. He is pretty highly touted, coming from the Astros system. Actually, had an injury I think last year. I think he had a blood clot. They had to remove part of his rib. Just had kind of a big life-changing moment, and he's come back relaxed, it seems. And just from listening to John Smoltz and a lot of the guys, the reporters for the Braves, they say that he has kind of found his groove. He's relaxed as a pitcher in the major leagues, and his last 2 starts, he's looked really good. Especially his last start, he was dialed in, and he's got that plus stuff. Syndergaard type, I think, if he can continue the pace that he's on. And then after watching what Teheran did to the Pirates, I think he's going to have a good shot at doubling that performance and possibly getting even more strikeouts than what Teheran did.
Yeah, when we're looking at his stats, last year, like you mentioned, just really bad. The xFIP, the hard contact, everything just not really good. And then when we're looking at this year, his xFIP is down a point from what it was last year. So you make some really good points. Pitchers being relaxed, being a guy that's pitched, there's stuff that'll bother you. And when you're out there and you're being relaxed, you just feel more comfortable. And you being an athlete, I'm sure you feel the same way. When you're comfortable, things come to you better. And, 6,300 here on FanDuel. You said that you like him here. What's your thoughts on Jeff Locke? Jeff Locke, the guy that, let's be honest, this guy's not really good. Pittsburgh has 2 really good superstar young pitchers in the minor league systems that they're just waiting to call up. If Locke gets blown up in this game, it's probably going to be it for him.
Yeah, and the Braves bats are seeing the ball pretty good, especially their right-handed bats. And it seems like Locke struggles. His xFIP's pretty high with a 5.1 this year against right-handed bats. He's got a pretty high whip. So if the Braves can get him to throw a lot of pitches, see a lot of pitches, I think it's a possible game where you might get some really, really low ownership. A guy that I'm liking right now, he didn't even get to start tonight, but he came in a pitch run. Gordon Beckham hit a double and scored, had a RBI double in a pitch, at bat. And his last game, I think he went 3 for 4 or whatnot. And he's been hitting the ball really good. So if he's in the lineup tomorrow, he's a guy that I like that'll definitely go low owned. Anybody on the Braves right now is going to be low owned. So that might be some bats to maybe target. They are putting up some runs here against the Pirates, and Locke's a guy that's probably going to be the worst arm that they've seen so far in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Beckham really cheap across the industry, really cheap over in fantasy draft, 5,200 over there, almost min salary at FanDuel at 2,400. If he's in the lineup, he's definitely a guy that we know has hit better against left-handed pitching throughout his career. 18 hits and 51 at bats this season. So, like you mentioned, he's hitting the ball really well right now. Love hot streaks. You're the Braves guy. Is there anybody else that you want outside of Beckham here?
You know what? I like a lot of the Braves bats. You can't really, if you're looking for home runs in your lineup, you can't really chase Braves pitchers or Braves hitters. They're just not hitting home runs. It's kind of miserable to watch. But if you want lots of hits and possibly scored runs, put these guys in your lineup. I like I really like Francoeur. I'm sure they'll try and figure out a way to get him in the lineup against a lefty. I know Malik Smith's been hot, but he won't be in against the lefty. They've been kind of just playing him as purely against right-handed pitchers. But Francoeur, Beckham, and another guy that was pretty hot tonight, Chase Darno, I think he had 2 hits and a stolen base. He's really fast and a scored run. So those are some cheap options that not very many people will be on.
Yeah, I don't mind the Braves here, the righties. I think you can even say Tyler Flowers. He's cheap across the industry as well. Playing these guys as one-off plays in tournaments, I don't hate it because Locke is just so bad to righties and lefties. So if you want to take a lefty-lefty matchup, I don't mind Freeman in a tournament. Now, we do like Folty in tournaments. When you have a guy throwing high 90s, there's always potential of hard contact. We see it with Syndergaard all the time. It's just something that you're gonna see a lot of. So let's talk the Pirates bats in a tournament. I think you can look at Polanco and McCutchen here.
I definitely like Polanco. He hit 3 doubles the other night, 2 nights ago, and he. I figured he would have been really good against Tehran tonight. He really didn't shake out, but I think if they do score runs off of Foltynewicz, it's going to come from the home runs. So, that's the kind of guys you want to target. I think you want to target the left-handed matchups against Foltynewicz. I think the right-handed guys might struggle a little bit. I don't know if I'm in on McCutchen, but if he does get a hold of one, who knows?
Yeah, Matt Joyce, another lefty that's cheap, and he should continue to start. Let's move it on to the next game. Washington at New York Mets. Matt Harvey and Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg, I feel like he's the top option here on this slate. Definitely has the highest upside, probably the safest play as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then they kind of been messing with that Mets lineup a little bit. I do worry a little bit more if Conforto and Duda are back in the lineup, which I'm sure they will be. But Strasburg has been really locked in. I know the last couple of times I've watched him pitch, he's been on the money. So hopefully, I really like him in this game, and the way the Nationals are playing tonight and the way the Mets are playing tonight, I don't see why many people would be off of him.
Yeah, Mets offense is really cold right now. Even Gio Gonzalez had a really good game against them on Wednesday night. When you're looking at Steven Strasburg, the xFIP 2.88, the swinging strike rate 11.9, and the thing to note the most about Strasburg this year is his hard contact rate's down. I love him in this matchup. Matt Harvey. Is Matt Harvey a guy, I know you watch a lot of baseball. Matt Harvey just doesn't look right.
No, he doesn't. He's not the same Dark Knight that everyone fell in love with last year. He just doesn't look the same. When the Braves come out of the gate and put up 5 runs on you, and you never really recover from it, I think it's something to kind of be a little bit worried about. And especially against left-handed hitters, he's not performing really well at all. He's one of the worst guys on the slate for tomorrow. So might be some Washington lefties against him and get away with some low ownership percentage.
Yeah, when we're talking Washington lefties, we're talking Bryce Harper, we're talking Daniel Murphy. Bryce Harper only 4,200 over on FanDuel. Excellent price for Bryce Harper's type of upside. Should see low ownership against Harvey. I really like Harper in tournaments. I don't mind Murphy as well. Dude is still dealing with some, stiff back issues, so it'd be interesting to see if he's in the lineup. So when we're looking at guys against Strasburg, is there anybody that you'd even take a shot on here against him?
It'd be tough, if Conforto can get on one of Strasburg's fastballs, I think he can maybe take one out of the park. I don't really like Duda. I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to him. I'm not big on the Mets bats. I think I would stay off of them. Definitely. There's definitely no reason to have a stack of Mets bats.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna, definitely lay off the Mets here against Strasburg. He's just looked too good. Cleveland at Cincinnati, Josh Tomlin and Tim Adelman. This is a game that I feel like we can talk about the hitters. Tomlin, I see the regression coming from him. This guy just really struggles with right-handed bats, and I just see the regression coming. He's pitching way over his head to start the season. I'm going to continue to stack against him. It's something that I've been doing a lot, and even though he's been winning a lot, I just feel like this is a great ballpark for hitters. It's the American Small Park in Cincinnati. I don't think you want either one of these pitchers, right?
No, definitely not. And not only is he's struggling against righties, his xFIP is way higher than his ERA against lefties. So he's getting away with some stuff against lefties. That's probably not going to last for a while, and his hard hit percentage is still up there against lefties. So he's a guy that the last couple of games between Cleveland and Cincinnati have been high-scoring games, and I don't see why you couldn't have shares of both lineups in this game and get a lot of points out of your batters.
Yeah, so let's start with Cleveland first. Adelman, a righty, hasn't really shown much this season. He's given up almost a hit per inning. The strikeout rate is decent, a little bit above average, but this is definitely a matchup that I feel like we can target Kipnis, Lindor, and I would even say Carlos Santana. And, man, Rajah Davis, multi-home run game on Wednesday. Will his ownership be too high that we might just want to fade him here against the righty?
I'm sure it probably will, and just a batter like Rajah Davis, I hate to go back to the same well with a batter like that. I just don't really trust him. It's kind of one of those games that he got away with a couple, and I don't see it possibly. It could happen again, get him another home run tomorrow. All the Davises seem to be hitting home runs, so who knows? I don't think I like him tomorrow. I'm going to stay off of him.
Yeah, the only way I'm going to play Rajah Davis here in this game is cash games because, his price on FanDuel still really cheap. And when we're looking at fantasy draft, he's only 6,600 on fantasy draft. So leadoff hitter, good matchup. Ownership's going to be high, but in cash games, we really don't care too much about the ownership. If a guy produces like he's supposed to and we get the points that we want, that's what we want in cash games. So I don't mind Rajah Davis in cash. I just don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on him in tournaments. I know he has multi-hits now in 3 straight games, but can Rajah Davis continue to do this is what you need to ask yourself. So let's talk, you mentioned Tomlin struggling against lefties. Let's talk some Cincinnati bats here. Who do you like?
As far as Cincinnati, you can't ever shy away from Votto, especially with the way that I feel like you can maybe get a steal here with the lefty bats against Tomlin, even though he does show a little bit better. People might shy away from him, but I think eventually he's going to start giving up some hits. He's got a hard hit percentage that's of 33% this year against lefties, and Joey Votto can hit him harder than most people. So I like him. I think some of the right-handed bats you definitely are going to want to target. Cozart's a guy that's been pretty hot to start the year, and he hasn't failed me yet, so I can keep going to the same well on him. You can kind of stack those guys and maybe get some hits and runs out of both of them and RBIs, and I think that's kind of what you're going to look for in GPPs. You might be able to search in different games for cash games as far as bats. I don't know if you want to chance as much with the Votto or the left-handed bats against Tomlin.
Now, I talk about this on the podcast all the time. Jay Bruce is a streaky guy. When he starts hitting the ball hard, he usually does it in streaks, and he's hitting the ball hard right now. Jay Bruce is a guy that you want to look at. Love his price tag at $7,800 on Fantasy Draft. Price tag on FanDuel at $3,600. He's actually one of my top tournament plays here on this slate. He's just a streaky guy, and I like everything you said about Tomlin here. The hard contact rate's up. I just like Bruce. I like Votto. You mentioned Cozart. You can never go wrong with a shortstop that's batting leadoff in a good matchup in a great ballpark. And Suarez is a guy that I always fall victim to, but he's been a guy that has home runs, in 3 of the last 4 games. So I like Suarez. Don't mind the righties. Colorado at St. Louis, Michael Wacha, Jonathan Gray. Jonathan Gray, I want to talk about him because outside of Coors Field, this guy's he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he is, and I've noticed that too. He's kind of a guy that I've been keeping my eye on. It's kind of hard to tell because his stats are so inflated because of Coors Field, but, man, he's really solid against right-handed batters and actually just batters in general outside of Coors Field. And he's a guy that, it's a little bit risky, but I think he might be a good second option on a website like DK that you might be able to get, some low ownership and some high value out of.
Yeah, when you're looking at Gray and you're looking at his career numbers, they're still small sample sizes. 36 innings at home. He has a 407 WOBA. He's given up 5 home runs and 32 earned runs. When you look at him on the road, he's given up only 8 earned runs in 33 innings with a 229 WOBA. Jonathan Gray, one of my top 3 pitching options on the slate for me here tonight. I really like Jonathan Gray, 6,900 on FanDuel. And like you mentioned, 2 pitcher sites like DraftKings and like our site here, Fantasy Draft, our sponsor. He's only 16.5 over there. Jonathan Gray is definitely a guy I'm going to look at. And, the same can be said for Wacha. Wacha is not a bad guy. Walker's so frustrating to me. I talk about it all the time. He's given up over a hit per inning. The strikeouts are down. I just don't know if I believe in Walker right now.
Yeah, Walker's a guy that's got a high whip, and he's got such a good defense and team behind him. I think he kind of gets away with it, being that he's a Cardinals pitcher. I don't think you see the success he has if he's with a different team. He's a guy that he's good. He can be good. I like him more of a season-long guy. He kind of gives you your steady Eddie all the way through the year. But he's not a guy that's going to post a lot of points, I don't feel like, on any kind of DFS world. And I was going back and looking at some of Jonathan Gray's stats here to kind of go back. I love a pitcher whose xFIP is way lower than their ERA, and his xFIP is almost 4 points lower against righties, and I think it's almost 2 points lower than his ERA against, or it's 1 point lower against lefties. So he's a guy that I'm really liking for tomorrow.
Yeah, I love him. I'm going to say that he's definitely one of my favorite tournament options on this slate. I don't expect anybody to take Jonathan Gray here against St. Louis. It's just a good spot for him here. Let's talk some bats. I really don't believe in Walker, so I'm not afraid to target guys like Arenado, Trevor Story. Blackmon just continues to mash. And, Cargo's going to break out of it eventually and have a two home run game soon.
Yeah, I always feel like I always catch Cargo, and everybody's waiting for him to catch that night. He's kind of like catching fire a little bit. But it could be the night. Walker's struggling this year against lefties. He's got almost a 40% hard hit rate and a high WOBA also. So I think Cargo could run into a couple of home runs against Walker here. And if you can get Arenado and Arenado and Cargo back to back in that lineup, might be a cool little mini stack to be able to play with some other options.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I believe in Jonathan Gray. I don't want to take any Cardinals bats against him, and I feel 100% confidence recommending, staying away from the Cardinals bats, because even if they get to him, I don't expect it to be a lot. Is there any Cardinals bats that you want to take here?
If any, I think I'm going to look. Definitely not against any right-handed bats. Gray's numbers are pretty good this year against right-handed bats. If anything, it's going to be the left-handed Cardinals bats. It's hard to pass up Carpenter. There's maybe Hazelbaker. He's kind of cooled off a little bit here lately. But there's not too many Cardinals bats I want to try, but it's hard to, Carpenter's one of the best hitters in the league, definitely one of the best hitters on the team. So if you are going to target anybody, I would go with the left-handed bat of Matt Carpenter.
Yep, I don't hate that. Houston at Chicago taking on the White Sox. Colin McHugh, Chris Sale. Chris Sale, man, off to a fantastic start this season. He's 8-0. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. What's your thoughts here on Sale?
I kind of like Sale. We were kind of big on Astros against Latos tonight, and I think, and then you come back the next day, and I think Chris Sale can come back and shut these Astros down. You can maybe catch the Astros or a team that you can catch a high strikeout night on in DFS, and Chris Sale's definitely the guy that can get it done. He's really good against right-handed bats, and those are the guys who will hurt you for the Astros. I feel like you can definitely slide by on lefties. So Chris Sale is what I think is probably your second, if not number one. I think it's between him and Strasburg for your top two pitching options of the night.
Yeah, you make some great points. And when you're looking at the Astros as a team, they have the 9th highest WOBA against lefties. Their hard contact rate, ISO, WRC plus, all very solid, but they're almost striking out at 26%. It's 25.8%. So like you're saying, when you have a guy like Sale who is just so good, especially against righties and lefties, just all around a great pitcher, this is a matchup that Sale is probably either going to dominate, 10-plus strikeouts, a lot of Ks, or the Astros bats being, who they are, Altuve, Correa, Springer. When we look at those three guys, they mash lefties. So it's just going to be one of those things where I feel like Sale's a great tournament option. I still feel like Strasburg's a cash play, but Sale definitely has more upside in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. If he can get by Altuve, Springer, Correa, I think he has a 10, 11 strikeout game, if not more.
So let's talk some bats here. Colin McHugh, not very good pitcher. When you're looking at his stats, he struggles against lefties, and then you look at his stats against righties, and they're even worse. So definitely feel like we can target guys like Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier, and Adam Eaton here.
Definitely. That's any night you have a good opportunity against the White Sox, I love to be able to put Frazier and Abreu in your lineup. Those are both guys that can hit 2 home runs in a night pretty easily and get you a lot of RBIs. So might be a great night to stack up some White Sox bats. I really like the matchup. McHugh is just struggling on both sides of the plate, so you might even be able to slide down and get some Melky Cabrera and some other guys and really make some money off the White Sox tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely agree. Now, Sale, it's tough to recommend anybody. If you're playing multiple teams, say you're running 10, 15 teams and, you're playing, $3, $5, $10 tournaments and your bankroll can handle it, I'm not against Altuve, Correa, Springer stack here against him. If you're running multiple teams, if you're running one team, I definitely don't recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be, I'd say it's going to be really, really contrarian. But if anybody's going to get to him, it's going to be those right-handed bats in the first 3 in the lineup for the Astros. So if you like the Astros, I would definitely try and fit, Altuve, Springer, and Correa. Those first 3 would be the ones that I would target.
Toronto at Minnesota, Marco Estrada against Irvin Santana. Santana is going to dominate in this game, right? The Blue Jays are just awful right now. They're just so bad.
They are, but that's also a team that can, they're going to strike out a lot and they're going to hit a lot of home runs. So you never know when they're going to turn around. It's playing with fire. We'll see. It could be definitely a game that you want to target. It seems like they're kind of a bit down in the dumps right now, and guess what? We can target Estrada definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to say it. I'm gonna continue to stack Blue Jays every night. I'm gonna stack the Blue Jays. I've been doing it for like a week now, and I've wasted enough money on it where I'm just gonna continue to stack them. And the night that they go off, I'm gonna have them, because if I don't have them on a night that they go off, it's just gonna frustrate me. So every night until they go off, you can expect to see one of my tournament teams with a Blue Jay stack, and that doesn't change here against Santana.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. You want to be the guy that I think the ownership's just going to keep getting lower with everybody, with the Blue Jays being such a popular team right now, and everybody's seeing that they're struggling, especially after the fight. The ownership's going to go down, but I think there's going to be a night here soon where they just blow it out. Hopefully they have a kind of a rally night and they come out and that Blue Jay stack will come through.
Any thoughts here on Estrada? He's off to a good start. And when we look at his numbers and when we look at the Twins for the most part, a lot of the power on the right side, Park, Sano, Nunez, these guys. And we looked at Verlander in the early slate on Wednesday, pitched really good against them. And when we're looking at Estrada, he's really good against right-handed bats. His biggest thing is his massive fly ball rate. I'm not too worried about it here. I feel like Estrada's a guy you can look at here on the slate.
Yeah, definitely. If he can, continue to be strong against the righties, and I think Sano and Park, both those guys are swinging the bat really well right now. If he can continue to be strong against them, get them struck out, I think he's going to have a good night. The Twins are just a bad team. They're just as bad as my Braves, which is saying a lot. And so you might be able to stream by them with him. He's not my favorite arm. I don't think I'll have many shares of him, but he is a guy that can go out, and I think you're definitely going to have a great shot at a win with the way he's pitching and the right-handed bats being the strong suit of the Twins.
Yeah, I agree. When you're looking at his price over on Fantasy Draft, 2-pitcher site, 15.6, really solid price tag over there. The $8,400 price tag on FanDuel is interesting. We got some other options in that price range that I feel like might be a better play. So I don't love him on FanDuel. I like him more on a DraftKings or, Fantasy Draft. 2-pitcher sites. We do like, when you're looking at Estrada, you don't mind him. If there's 2 guys you're going to take, like you said, Sano and Park are hot. Those are the power guys. Those are the guys you want to target. Any night they have upside.
Yeah, definitely. I was watching Park the other night. He's got a nice swing, and he was hitting everything hard. He was just hitting it right to the wrong guys. So I think his big game's coming soon. Just hopefully not against Estrada for some people.
San Francisco at San Diego, Jeff Samardzija, James Shields. When we're looking at the slate, we instantly look to see, who's playing the Padres. Is it a right-handed pitcher? Padres, lowest team WOBA, strikeout 25% of the time, lowest team WRC plus. The numbers are there for Samardzija to have a big game here. Do you like him?
I do. I like him more of kind of a second option guy. He's not in my top 5, I don't think. The Padres, every time I've seen the target him, I catch them at the wrong time. They're really, really bad at the beginning of the year. Once everybody really kind of found that out, their bats heated up for a little bit. They've kind of been up and down. And Samardzija is one of those guys that I just don't fully trust. I don't feel like he's the same he used to be. He's been good against the right-handed bats, but you never know. And when a guy like Melvin Upton gets up there, and you never know, he's kind of a hit-or-miss guy, but when he does hit the ball, it's going to go far and it's going to go hard. So I'm not crazy about Samardzija, but I do think he has a good night. Maybe just gives up 3 runs. But I think it's a high-score night for both teams, and you might want to get some bats out of both.
Yeah, the biggest thing that worries me with Samardzija is the hits. When you're seeing a guy give up a lot of hits, it's always something you got to worry about. I just love the matchup. I feel like the matchup kind of overlooks, what he's been doing this season. And if we look at his last 3 starts, he's thrown at least 7 2/3 in 3 straight games. He's pitching deep into games. I like him here. I don't love his price tag. His price tag is kind of caught up to what he's been doing this year, but I love the fact that he's getting a massive ground ball rate this year. He's limiting the hard contact. So for those reasons, I feel like he's a good play. If you don't believe in Strasburg against the Mets in cash games, Samardzija is definitely another guy you can look at in cash here. James Shields on the other side of the hill here. Shields is so frustrating. He usually either has a really good game like what we've seen against Milwaukee, or he gets blown up, which we've seen that a lot this year as well.
Yeah, I feel like Shields is definitely probably the biggest boom or bust guy on the slate. But I like, a hitting team like the Giants. They're like a mini Royals to me a little bit. They can turn it on and get 12, 13 hits in a game against a team. And if Shields, the bad Shields comes out, you're going to see a high run total and some home runs. I definitely like some lefties against Shields. Maybe a Brandon Belt. I love Brandon Crawford. If you can stack some lefties against him, I think you're going to have a great success.
Yeah, I love the Crawford call. When we're looking at shortstop, it's just a limited slate or, just a limited position for upside. So I recommend Crawford all the time. I like Span here, Posey, Belt, all these guys. Even Panic's another guy I'd look at. When you're looking at the Giants, like you said, it's like a minis Royal team. They only strike out 15.6% of the time against righties. It's a good matchup for the Giants offense. Not a great matchup for Shields. I don't want nothing to do with him here against the Giants. I mentioned some bats there. Is there anybody else that you want to mention here for the Giants?
Panic, maybe. At second base. Second base can be kind of a tough place to get some bats in, and him being a left-handed hitter and batting second in the lineup, he's a good one to target there. But I really like Belt, Crawford, and Panic, and also Span, like you said. I would be big on the lefties, and Buster Posey's a pure hitter, so if Shields leaves one over the plate, what Buster's going to do with it.
Is there any bats that you want to target here for the Padres against Samardzija?
I don't see many that you want to target, possibly, but he's not really doing much this year. So I'd stay away from the Padres bats for sure.
Let's move on to the next game. We got the Angels and the Dodgers. Dodgers visiting the Angels on the back end of this freeway series. Ross Stripling and Chacin. Chacin had a really good start to the season. Traded to the Angels here. His first start wasn't awful. Wasn't great against Seattle. Just not a guy that I just want to target right now. I'm just kind of worried that, the numbers at the beginning of the season were kind of off, and he's a guy that struggled with lefties, and when we're looking at the Dodgers order, it's just full of left-handed bats.
Yeah, I like the left-handed bats against Chacin. He was a Brave, so I kind of watched in spring training. He was on fire, and then I think that momentum rolled into his first couple starts for the Braves, and then the next couple were just atrocious, and he started falling apart. And I think the Braves might have dumped him before he kind of finds his downslope of his career. But who knows? Maybe going to a new team might rejuvenate him. But I do love the left-handed bats against him in this matchup.
Yeah, even dating back to last year, massive home run to fly ball ratio for Chacin against lefties. It's a good matchup to stack the Dodgers lefties. They've been cold as an offense in general, but I just love Jock Peterson, love Grandal. If Gonzalez is back in the order, pay attention to see, they're thinking that he's going to be back on Thursday. So if he's in the order, he's another guy you can look at. Don't mind Chase Utley in cash games. So this is a good team to target. Corey Seager is on fire right now. So I love everything to do here with the Dodgers. Now, Ross Stripling, on the other hand of this game, when we're looking at the Angels, their offense isn't great this season, but they just don't strike out. So I just feel like you can't really target too many pitchers against them.
No, I don't like targeting pitchers against teams that don't strike out. There's not much value in it. You kind of have to have those strikeouts to equal out the giving up runs that could happen in any ball game. So a guy against the Angels, even though Kershaw just earlier in the week had 11 strikeouts again against them, you kind of take Kershaw out of the fray, and one of the teams that are not going to strike out much, and Stripling, being a younger guy, might frustrate him. He's going to feel like he's going to have a high pitch count and probably get knocked out of the game early. And it could be a high scoring game for the Angels and the Dodgers. I think I like the matchup for both teams as far as bats.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like Trout's an excellent play here when you're looking at Stripling. He's a guy that's really struggled with right-handed bats, giving up a 37.5% hard contact rate to righties. It's a good matchup to target Trout and Pujols. Last little game here, between the Freeway series, let's Pujols and Trout go out with a bang here. I like those two guys a lot here.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're one of those people that likes to play the late slate, you could throw a Trout, Pujols, Jock Peterson, Corey Seager, big LA final game of the night kind of bat stack and see what might happen. I wouldn't be afraid of that at all.
Yeah, I like that call. It's always, the late slate's always low on, so I don't hate that. Last game of the slate here, the Yankees against Oakland Athletics. Ivan Nova against Kendall Graveman. Nova back in the big, starting again. Let's load up on some left-handed bats against him. He really struggles against lefties.
Yeah, I definitely like that with the A's bats, and I'm a huge Josh Reddick guy, so going to try and get him in some lineups. Chris Davis is a guy who's hot. Do you stick with him? Do you think he continues? He's got 4 home runs in 3 games right now. Do you stick with him against Nova coming back?
Yeah, I do, because Nova's, when you look at his stats, he's really bad against lefties, but it doesn't get much better against righties. 310 WOBA, 31.5 hard contact rate to righties, so it's not much better against righties, but lefties, it's massively bad. Does Davis stay this hot? Especially on FanDuel, I don't care if he does or not. I'm going to pay for $3,400 in cash games because everybody's going to have him with the hot streak that he's on. Yeah,
definitely. You might want to target a guy like a Billy Burns who can get on base against Nova and let Josh Reddick and Chris Davis go to work knocking him in all day and definitely have an opportunity to steal some bags too.
Now, looking at Graveman, he's a guy that really struggles with righties. Numbers are not much better against lefties. The Yankees' offense, it's so hot or cold. This offense is really hot or cold. I don't mind targeting them in tournaments, and if they're cheap, in spots, I don't mind targeting them in cash games. Beltran, Gardner, Ellsbury, my 3 main targets, and McCann's always a guy you can really pay for at catcher.
Yeah, definitely. If there's a pitcher going against the Yankees that's good against lefties, I don't even look at the Yankees. But I think Graveman's a guy that we can look at the left-handed bats a little bit. There's some positive signs where you might be able to get some home run activity out of Brett Gardner's a guy that, he doesn't have a lot of home runs in the year, but he's a guy that can sneak out there every once in a while and get you a big night. And definitely Brian McCann if you can fit him in your lineup. So I do like some lefty bats against crazy about the right-handed bats.
That's going to wrap it up here. As we were going, I was writing down my fantasy draft plays. Every day I give out 3 guys that I feel like you could build your cash lineups around on Fantasy Draft. And those three guys today, Michael Saunders for Toronto in the matchup against Santana, Rajah Davis in the matchup here. Just a great cash game play. Wouldn't play him too much in tournaments. And the last game that we talked about, Josh Reddick, is a guy that, a typical DFS player wouldn't play him in cash, but I'm not your typical DFS player, and I really like Josh Reddick in this spot. Ty, let's play some home run derby. My favorite part of the podcast, every day we give out three guys that we're going to feel like are going to hit home runs. We're going to alternate picks here, and since you're my guest, I'm going to let you go first.
All right, my first guy. I know you're going to be a little mad with this one. This is your guy. I'm going to go with a Jock Jam.
Yeah, all right. So there's a rule about this podcast. You can't take – no, I'm just kidding. I love that call. When Jock gets hot, he gets hot. We're recording the podcast on Tuesday or Wednesday night, so we don't know necessarily what he's done in that game yet. But he's a guy, if he gets hot, he gets hot. I'm going to go with one of my guys here that I mentioned for the fantasy draft plays, and that's Josh Reddick. O.co, not a great ballpark for left-handed power, but I just love Josh Reddick here against Nova.
Yeah, I do too. He was kind of my guy that I feel like you just stole him from me. So I'm going to have to regroup here, and let's see. My next guy, I'm really trying to target these late games with the Dodgers and the Angels. I think Mike Trout sends one off Nova tomorrow night.
Yeah, love Mike Trout here. Just a stripling, like we mentioned, just not really good against righties. So I love Trout. I'm going to go with Jay Bruce. Like I said, when he's streaky, he usually hits them in bunches, and he's hitting the ball hard right now. Love Jay Bruce here. Guy that I feel like is definitely going to get a home run. Yeah,
and I'm kind of piggyback off that and go with Votto. I think he's got an opportunity. He's starting to heat up with the bat. He had a couple good hits on Wednesday night, and I did realize I said that Nova was going to be pitching. That's not going to be happening. It's going to be Stripling for the Dodgers, and Trout's going to hit a home run off him.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're allowed to mess up. That's what we do. It's 11 o'clock on Wednesday night. We're allowed to have a few birds. So as long as the picks come through like they usually do, that's all people care about. We're allowed to mess up. My last one here, I don't know if it's chalky or not, but I'm going to go Bryce Harper against Matt Harvey. The Dark Knight is just going to get mashed here by Harper.
I feel like that's a good one. I think Matt Harvey's too confident to be pitching around Bryce Harper. He might leave one over the middle and let Bryce send one. I think it's too big of a superstar versus superstar battle that Harvey's not going to just walk him every time he gets up.
Yeah, he is. He's too proud. Not going to walk Harper. All right, so at the end of the day, if you had to pick a guy that's going to have a win in the win column at pitcher, doesn't have to score the most fantasy points, but he's going to have a win, who would that be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going with Chris Sale.
Like it a lot. I'm going to go a little off the board. It would be way too easy to say Strasburg. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Gray at St. Louis on the road. I'm sticking to my gut, and I'm going Jonathan Gray. I just like him a lot here, and I'm rolling with it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, and I think one more guy that you kind of talked me into during the show here is Samardzija. The way he's pitching, getting deep into games. He can definitely. I think if a guy can pitch deep in a game against Padres, you're going to win the game.
Yep, I definitely like that call. He was definitely a guy that I have him written down as chalk. So I like going a little crazy with my starting pitchers. Ty, man, it was great to have you on the podcast again. I'm really excited to do the interview with you at Charlotte and get some of these questions answered that our fans here at Roto Grinders, and even if you follow Ty and you're a race car guy, man, don't be afraid to come over to Roto Grinders and post a question. Let's get some questions for racing. Let's get some questions for fantasy. I have one question for you before we get out of here. If you had a chance to maybe finish in the top 5 at Daytona or win your fantasy league, which one would it be?
I'd have to take Daytona. It pays a little bit better.
Yeah, all right. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I would love to see you in the top 5 at Daytona. That's hometown for me. There's some good spots here in Daytona. We would go grab a cold one or two. But man, I really appreciate having you on. It's always a lot of fun having you on here, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, man, love being on, and look forward to doing it again.
All right, man, and that's Ty Dillon. Number 3, driving through the streets of Philadelphia. And we'll be back here on Friday, May 20th with Hoop 2410, giving you guys some cash game picks with Hoop, giving me the tournament players. And good luck in your Thursday contest, and we'll see you then.